From Lady Danbury's insanely offensive portrayal to Marina Thompson depicting the harmful stereotypes of a pregnant woman trying to deceive a man, Bridgerton has come under fire multiple times for its controversial character portrayals, especially for Simon and his stuttering. Now, for a show to adopt stuttering as a character trait for one of its characters is a big risk, but Bridgerton took that risk with Simon Bassett's character, and I guess it kind of worked in their favor, because shortly after its release, the show broke a ton of records, and people were just obsessed with the show and Simon. I mean, I can't say I disagree. The guy is basically a hunk. But while a lot of people loved the show and the character, several others criticized it for feeding into the typical stuttering stereotypes.
For me to realize I did not want Miss Bridgerton to only be my friend, I wanted her to be my wife.
I mean, in the show, we see that as a child, when his father, the Duke of Hastings, finds out that his son has a stutter, he literally labels him as an imbecile, someone who will never amount to anything. And from that day onward, Simon decides to do everything he can to excel in his life, and not let his father's or anyone else's opinions define what he can and can't do.
Not perfect does not make it any less worthy of love.
But the problem that people have with his character is that other than deciding to excel at life, Simon also decides to hide his stutter as best he can, because he sees it as his weakness. In a world where people are slowly becoming more accepting and inclusive, something like this can rarely ever fly. This next controversial character portrayal, though, has people scratching their heads. It's the fact that Queen Charlotte is portrayed by a black actress. Yeah, this one definitely threw me off a bit, because Queen Charlotte was supposed to be white. She was literally one of the most influential white people in the Regency era.
And then today it suddenly occurred to me that perhaps there is another reason, a better reason.
So what gives? I mean, I get the whole inclusivity thing, but it works well with fictional movies and shows. This is an actual person that existed within that era. But then again, all of this has a bit of a twist. You see, some historians believe that Queen Charlotte was, wait for it, actually black. You might be thinking I've gone insane, but that's the truth. The argument that these historians put forward is that if one were to look at Queen Charlotte's portraits, a lot of her features point towards her having African ancestry, from her hair to her lips, as well as her ill-colored face, as the royal Baron Christian Friedrich Stockmar put it. While those seem like valid arguments, they are at the end of the day just arguments, because there has been no definitive proof up till now that says Queen Charlotte was in fact black. But that's not all, you see. Even just suggesting that she might have some African ancestry means that two of her famous descendants, that is Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth, carry African ancestry as well. Now, I don't need to tell you how angry the followers of these monarchs must have been, and while it's great to see more people of color on screen, I think we can all agree that Bridgerton doesn't do justice to its black characters at all. Just look at Marina Thompson's character on the show. Literally, the first thing that happens to her on the show is that she's traded to the Featheringtons in exchange for the debt they owe to her father.
Though it is now a great ambition of mine as well.
It is quite brilliant. Puts my sisters to shame.
I can assure you that is not true.
If I could roll my eyes to the back of my head, that's what I'd be doing right now. That's not all. She's forced to find herself a suitable man and marry him, because it turns out little Miss Marina is pregnant, and the father of her child, also her boyfriend, is fighting somewhere in Spain. I mean, it's not odd. A lot of women marry a man after something like this happens to secure a position for themselves. And not to be called tainted, but the problem lies in the fact that she tries to come up with a scheme to marry Colin, the bachelor son of the Bridgerton family, who's oblivious to what Marina is trying to do. Unsurprisingly, she's caught in her deceit and is shunned even by the Featheringtons. After that, she just goes into depression and spirals out of control. Not a good character arc at all, in my opinion. Some may argue that maybe she wasn't that important of a character to have a well-rounded arc. To them, I say, what about Lady Danbury? We've come a long way from the era where older black women were written off as mammies.
Subjects as love and devotion, affection and attachment. You find it all trite and frivolous.
Someone who's always there taking care of the white people. Lady Danbury is one of the main characters on the show. She's a mentor to the Duke of Hastings, giving him relationship advice and emotional support since he was young. But the show's creators don't even make the effort to tell us how she obtained her high status in society.
There's any sense of the subject's spirit and the light. Given the quality, I do wonder why the piece was not Sky.
I mean, like me, almost everyone else expected that further on in the seasons, her backstory would be explored a bit more, telling the audience about how she struggled and made a name for herself as a black woman among all these white people, and how she has maintained that status up till now. But no, we don't. Instead, she's just there to support the roles of the white character.
Go on to some remote corner of the world and continue to do what you have always done.
And what would that be?
Take everything you have.
It's such a stereotypical narrative at its core that it makes me fume in frustration. Viola Davis didn't give us a liberating performance in The Help for Bridgerton to backtrack on the narrative again. But what else can you do except voice your opinion?
Please, you must not tell us all.
And get this, she isn't the last POC woman the show's treated like this. Remember how the Sharma sisters were portrayed? Everyone was super excited when they saw the trailer for Bridgerton Season 2, because the makers cast a South Asian lead and introduced the Sharmas, an Indian family, into the historical Regency period drama. And I'm pretty sure every South Asian person out there couldn't wait to see how they were represented in one of Netflix's most popular shows. But their excitement was short-lived, because the minute they started watching, everyone realized that the showrunners had basically decided to lump several different South Asian cultures together, which was honestly a huge letdown. To give an example, Sharma is an upper caste North Indian last name, but the girls refer to their father as Appa, which is the Tamil version. And then there's Kate, who calls her sisters Bon, which means sisters in Bengali. Like, it's shocking that despite enormous budgets, the makers didn't bother to do their research at all.
My responsibilities will keep me moving around quite often. It is entirely possible that there'll be stretches of time.
And the thing is, sometimes misrepresentation can be just as bad as non-representation. It can perpetuate harmful stereotypes and further marginalize underrepresented groups. And this has been one of the biggest gripes Bridgerton fans have had with the show. While they try to be inclusive, Bridgerton offers nothing of substance to its people of color.
Lord Bridgerton.
It's Edwina.
Some fans have pointed out many of the non-white characters are relegated to supporting roles and are not given the same level of development and complexity as their white counterparts. This can be particularly problematic as it can reinforce the notion that people of color are secondary or less important than white characters. See, inclusive representation should strive to go beyond mere tokenism and give underrepresented groups a voice and agency in the story. People have been pointing this out ever since the show came out, but it seems that the showrunners keep repeating the same mistake again and again. Hopefully, they'll learn before it's too late. Well, that was all on Bridgerton's biggest controversies in character portrayal.